for the last intervention. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this morning, and I want to particularly thank Ambassador Barrow for focusing our attention on the real health consequences of nuclear weapons. It's my job this morning to remind us what is going to happen, what will happen when these weapons are used again. And it is important for us to understand that as long as these weapons exist, it is not a question of if, but only a question of when. We have been dodging bullets for 70 years. We've been unbelievably lucky, and our luck is not going to hold out forever. If we do not eliminate these weapons, someday soon, by design or by accident, they will be used again. The anniversary of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings have given us a very frightening, terrifying reminder of what nuclear weapons can do. But we must understand that the horror caused by these two small bombs does not begin to prepare us for the devastation that will take place the next time they are used. Recent studies have shown that even a very limited nuclear war, involving just 100 Hiroshima-sized weapons, as might take place between India and Pakistan, using less than 0.5% of the world's nuclear arsenals, this war would be a global catastrophe. 20 to 30 million people would die within a week in South Asia as a direct result of the explosions, the fires, and the radiation. But these direct effects are only part of the story. The fires caused by these explosions would loft soot into the atmosphere that would block out the sun, and the climate disruption and catastrophic decline in food production that would follow would cause a global famine that will put up to 2 billion people at risk. 2 billion people dead is not the extinction of our species, but it is the end of modern civilization. No civilization in history has withstood a shock of this magnitude, and ours will not either. A war between the United States and Russia will be far worse. We've been told for the last 25 years, since the end of the Cold War, that we don't need to worry about war between the superpowers. Recent events have shown just how hollow those assurances are. Even if neither side ever chooses deliberately to use its nuclear weapons, there remains the very real possibility of accidental nuclear war or a nuclear war caused by cyber terrorism. So let's consider for a few minutes what will happen with a large-scale use of nuclear weapons. And I want to start by describing what would happen to one city, say New York, in a modern nuclear attack. This would involve not one Hiroshima-sized bomb, but perhaps 10 to 15 bombs, each of which would be, on average, 30 times more powerful. To give you a picture of this, I'm going to use a model of a single 20-megaton explosion. This model underestimates the destruction that will take place, but it gives an adequate approximation. Within 1,000th of a second of the detonation of this explosive, a fireball will form, reaching out for 3 kilometers in every direction, 6 kilometers across. Within this entire area, the temperature will rise to 20 million degrees Fahrenheit, and everything will be vaporized. The buildings, including the one that we're sitting in right now, the people, the trees, the upper level of the earth itself, it will all disappear. To a distance of 6 kilometers in every direction, the explosion will generate winds greater than 1,000 kilometers per hour, and blast pressures greater than 25 pounds per square inch. Mechanical forces of this magnitude can destroy anything that human beings can build. To a distance of 9 kilometers in every direction, the heat will be so intense that automobiles will melt. To a distance of 25 kilometers in every direction, the heat will be so intense that everything flammable will burn. Cloth, paper, gasoline, heating oil, it'll all ignite. Hundreds of thousands of fires, which over the next half hour will coalesce into a firestorm, 50 kilometers across. Within this entire area, the temperature will rise to 800 degrees centigrade. All of the oxygen will be consumed, and every living thing will die. In the case of New York, 15 million people dead in a half an hour. And if this attack were part of a large-scale war between the United States and Russia, this same level of devastation would be visited on every major city in the United States and in Russia, and if NATO were drawn into the conflict, on most of the great cities in Europe as well. Perhaps 500 million people dead within a week. But again, these direct effects are only part of the picture. The soot lofted into the atmosphere by this war would drop temperatures across the globe an average of 8 degrees centigrade. In the interior regions of North America and Eurasia, the temperatures would drop 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. The Earth has not been this cold in 18,000 years, since the coldest moment of the last ice age. In the Northern Hemisphere, there would not be a single day for 2 to 3 years during which the temperature did not drop, at least for some time, below the freezing point. Ecosystems will collapse, food production will stop, the vast majority of the human race will starve to death, and it is possible that we will become extinct as a species. This is the danger that we face. It is not the future that must be, but it is the future that will be if we do not eliminate nuclear weapons. Look, I'm not a diplomat, I'm a doctor, and I often have to speak very frankly with my patients when they're engaging in dangerous, self-destructive behaviors. That's what we're all doing right now. So please forgive me if I speak very bluntly to you now. The leaders of 9 member states of this organization have chosen to build and maintain nuclear arsenals. Their weapons pose an existential threat to their own people and to all of humanity. Under the Article 6 of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, 5 of these states have a legally binding obligation to negotiate the abolition of these weapons. All 9 claim they hope to do it someday, but they tell us the time is not right. And so we must ask them, if not now, when? Do they really think it's going to be easier to get rid of these weapons in the future, when there are more people competing for less water, less food, less arable land? They tell us that we need to follow a step-by-step path. And so we need to tell them that the step-by-step path that they are proposing is a march to nowhere. Because they do not want to arrive at a world free of nuclear weapons. Rather, they are spending hundreds of billions of dollars modernizing their nuclear forces. And these actions speak much louder than words. It is clear they plan to maintain their nuclear arsenals forever. And so it falls to the rest of humanity to take action. We must create a new international norm against this intolerable threat to our survival. A norm which stigmatizes these weapons and the nations which possess them, which explicitly identifies countries that would threaten the survival of all humanity as the rogue states that they have become. The first step in this process is clear. 115 nations have signed a humanitarian pledge to work for a new legal instrument that will fill the gap in international law, which does not now explicitly prohibit the possession of nuclear weapons. We must turn that pledge into a binding legal treaty which bans these weapons and paves the way for a nuclear weapons convention which will establish the framework for a verifiable, enforceable system to actually eliminate these weapons. And we must do this with great urgency. These negotiations will not be easy, but we have no choice. A great burden rests on our shoulders. It is not just ourselves who will die in a nuclear war. These weapons will destroy everything that we've inherited from our ancestors, and everything that we should pass on to our children, including the simple chance to stand on this earth and build a life for themselves and for their children. We've neglected our responsibility far too long. We come from many different cultures and traditions. In my religion, our sacred book says that God said, "Behold, I have set before you life and death. Therefore choose life, that you and your children might live." That is literally the choice before humanity today. And so let us choose wisely. Let us act to ban and eliminate these weapons so that indeed our children might live. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor, for your plight and for your very sincere words, which we take directly to reflect upon. May I